Hey, just looks like a box, right? Freeze plugs. Woohoo! I don't know about y'all, but when I get new stuff, I don't know why, I get excited. I guess it's like a woman shoe shopping, right? They go shoe shopping, they finally get their shoes, or if you're online shopping and it finally comes in, it's exciting, right? It's a freeze plug, but it's something new, it's going on, fixed a problem before we got it all mounted up and ended up having to pull the engine back out just to replace the one in the middle that's under the motor mount, which would have not been fun. So, because we want to drive this thing, right? So, got our freeze plug, try that in English, freeze plugs in, and we're going to go ahead and get these put in. Y'all get to watch. And then we're going to put this engine in the car. Hopefully all my little modifications, my little slotted motor mounts and my new freeze plugs and all my ideas so far, and see if it all comes together. Hopefully this is the time it's actually going to go in. If it doesn't go in or things don't start to line up, we're going to have to make some more modifications, and we won't know about that until we actually get it in with the transmission on the back of it, see if everything's lining up. Because I did put an engine, of course it was a big block Chevy in a 3 Series Beamer, BMW for those that don't know what a Beamer is, and so things didn't exactly fit in. And when I got the motor in there, I made my own mounts, I got everything mounted up and sort of kind of used the original mounting area. Well, yeah, the engine was cattywampus. So when I put the transmission on it, transmission tunnel was here, tranny was over here somewhere, pointing like towards the tailpipe instead of the actual differential. So I ended up having to cut those mounts, move the engine straight, and it was not fun. So hopefully we're going to try it. We're still working on the same mounting areas as the 6-cylinder, and we're kind of hoping that AMC did their homework and said, hey, let's just make one cradle for all engines and just have different mounts on the engine itself. Now the engine mounts for this are out of an AMX/Javelin, and so you know, the mounts may not be right either. So we're going to make them work, but they looked pretty close, so hopefully we're going to get lucky. But anyway, this is pretty much, oh, made in China. It's great. How did I see that without my glasses? I'm amazed. Anyway, I'm going to put her in. Hang with me. Hopefully this is going to be the get her in-er video, because the last one, as you saw, was the get her in-er and take her back out-er video because things weren't lining up. We did throw some wheels on there to kind of save the day, if you will, because I wanted to accomplish something. But even that, which you didn't see in the video, ended up stripping one lug stud, so that's going to have to come back off later, and we're going to have to replace the lug studs. I'm going to get longer ones because I'll explain all that when we do that, because the front drums on this car are weird. They're really deep set, and when I put my wheels on, I had to put spacers. It was kind of weird. But anyway, let's go ahead and get this engine in. And do me a favor, if while you're watching this you really like it, hit that subscribe button. I don't even know where it really is. You might have to, I'm not really sure, but people are doing it, so just hit that subscribe button if you're liking the video, if you like the past ones, and we'll remind you again at the end of this video. But so far, thanks for watching. We're going to go ahead and clean these out, and we're going to put the new freeze plugs in. We got to make sure we get all the crap, shall we say, out of there. Piece of emery paper, which is a fancy name for a skinny piece of sandpaper. Just gonna give these a little stuffing so the Permatex and the new freeze plug has something to hook on to. The secret to just about anything: paint, primer, and Permatex, just about anything in the automotive world, gaskets, is giving them something to grab onto, to bite onto. It'd be like trying to climb a straight up piece of glass as opposed to trying to climb up a mountain crag where there's little divots and footholds and fingertip holes and what have you. You can't climb up something that's perfectly smooth. Now, while there is a such thing as such precision that you can put two pieces together and they will actually stick together because they're so close, there's, in smoothness, but in the automotive world, that's just not the case. You could take a piece of a wire brush as well and stick it in these holes and clean it up that way too if you'd rather. I'm just going to use a piece of emery because I just don't feel like changing the wire brush onto the tool when I can just do this just as easy, So anyway, that's that. This one's still pretty dirty, as you can see here, so I'm going to have to get in there with some solvent or something, clean that up really well. You put a speed shop out on a road, and the people who drive by think it's necessary to go 100 miles an hour, or to burn rubber or rev their engines, and I'm okay with that. As long as they don't hurt nobody. Just lets me know that the hot rod world is alive and well. Here we go. Now I'll do the other side, and we're going to go ahead and clean. I'll get some solvent and we'll wipe it out in here and get this cleaned up too. Because this one's got some icky in there. The other side was mostly dust. This side was mostly sludge. So when we get this in the car, we'll probably unhook the bottom radiator hose and just run some stuff through this thing and get her all cleaned up. Gonna use mineral spirits. It's an all-around good cleaner. Get this paste fairly quickly. So we're just gonna put a little bit on a rag. Just clean these out. It's important to remember to always use the right tool for the job. So we have a socket, and using a brass hammer because we don't want to damage the socket. I'm sure there's a freeze plug putter in her somewhere, but I'm going to use a socket. There you go. You don't want to put her in too far because you don't want to cause a restriction. So we'll just get her so she's flush. The other ones were actually even sticking out a little bit. And you got to use the old finger tool. Very handy. Put a little Permitex on that old finger. Coat the inside. Oh, that one's still a little bit wet. See, there's water coming out of this one, so good thing Permitex works underwater. So we're just gonna put some in here. There's definitely some water on that one. So put a little on here, even though it doesn't stick very well to this one. That's because we didn't scratch it up. But I'm not going to scratch this one up. Alright. Again. That one's kind of going in crooked. we go. Don't know if this is going to be necessary because we're talking about 1/4 of an inch, but I'm going to go ahead and balance these out. I'm going to pull this one up a little bit and that one down a little bit, and that puts both of these mounts almost identical. So this is exactly centered at the moment. She's in. The next hurdle is this little, whatever they call it, the torque shaft, I think they call it, or Z-bar, which a lot of people refer to it as. Cool thing about it is it mounts to the transmission, not to the engine. So it's going to go right here. It seems a little cattywampus, but for whatever reason, I guess that's how it goes. So that's not going to be too much of an issue. Although, this bushing is completely worn out, and I want to see if I can get another one. But it's there for now. We'll see if I can't get a bushing. If not, I'll try a Mopar, because Mopar seems to be serving me well on these. This one's weird. It looks like a little top hat that's got a socket in it. And so we'll put the socket, see if I can get one that's close. If not, well, I'll try to get the right one. But if I can't get it, then we'll get one from a Mopar or a Chevy or whatever we can find. So let's go ahead and get the bell housing in. And then let's see. Everything looks good. But who knows? We won't know till we get the transmission in. I've got it jacked up with the transmission jack right now. But I'm going to probably take that back out because the transmission's going to have... I'm not going to put this torque shaft in just yet because I want to get the transmission in it and get it to see if I can get everything to line up. That would be stupendous. So let's get started. As I mentioned during the part of the episode where I was putting this flywheel on, there's a torque spec, and we want to make sure, I just kind of zinged them on there, but we're going to make sure we're torqued in there properly. We're going to do it as an opposite, so there, and just keep going around. Got my old torque wrench. This is an old-fashioned torque wrench. There's a lot fancier ones, but this one still works. It's supposed to be between 100 and 110 foot-pounds. So let's figure 105, because 105 is right in the middle. So if the torque wrench is plus or minus at all, if it's a little bit too much, it'll be 110. If it's a little bit too little, it'll be 100. So we're going to go to 105. That way, we're right in the middle there. Now, we're not going to go right to 105. We're going to start with 55. And so I'm going to go half, and I'm going to go around. And then I'm probably going to go half again of that. So we go like 80, and then we'll go to 105. So it's real simple. Just going to kind of give it a pull. Probably well beyond 105. You'll notice I'm kind of hanging on the flywheel as I'm doing this because, you know, it's going to try to turn on me. So hopefully those motor mounts are good. Well, I still got the still got it on the thingy too. So I'll stop talking now so I can pay attention to what I'm doing. But now we're going to go to 80. I don't know if you can see this real good, but what I've done here is I put a flywheel turner thingamabobby tool stuck. I've broken these before, so this one's a little bit better, I hope, than the one I broke. Of course, I think I had the other one 20-something years. So I've got that to hold it so I can put both hands on this torque wrench because now we're at 80 pounds. And so we just did this one, and that flywheel tool is going to keep this together for me. And now we go to 105. This is the thing I was talking about. This is the pressure plate, and this is the clutch. And if you'll notice, the clutch is about a ½ inch smaller than the pressure plate. That in itself I don't think is too big a deal. If I was getting 100% of this clutch material on the pressure plate. The problem is, it's almost impossible to see it. But what it boils down to is if we measure from here, this diameter and then this diameter. In fact, let's go ahead and do that so you can kind of get an idea. This vernier doesn't quite cover what we need it to because it's a little bit on the tiny side. But if you'll notice, the vernier is all but a ½ inch to the outside diameter of this hole. But if we do this, this is inside a little bit. Actually, it doesn't look too bad here. It looks almost perfect, but a little bit, basically, there's another ½ inch to go here. So basically, we're not going to be using about this much of the clutch. It's going to hang over. That's not too big a deal. I'm not real worried about it. I think we're going to be okay. The thought of putting nitrous on this car, this may inhibit that, especially because these are so hard to find. But if I engage it once, if I hit the nitrous only once the clutch is totally engaged, we might be okay. But I don't think I'd want to be dropping the clutch on nitrous. But we're not going to worry about nitrous right now. We're just going to go ahead and get this running. But you'll see this has, a little bit of play. This is, we're going to be missing probably about a ½ inch of this on either side. Not a huge deal, but not ideal either. I would have liked to use the 10-inch clutch, but this is what we got to work with because the 10-inch doesn't fit here. This is the important, this is what goes to the transmission shaft. Since this transmission has never made it to this engine, this is the answer to our plight, and this disc was like 5 times the cost of the proper 10-inch disc. So, yeehaw, I paid more for just this disc than I did for the entire pressure plate kit. So, that was with a clutch disc, the pressure plate, and a throwout bearing. So, got to do what you got to do if you want to mongrelize stuff. But we're in the world of making it work, and so here we go. Welcome to the world of making it fit. The clutch plate, normally you would use a tool like this, just a regular clutch alignment tool. Unfortunately, in this particular application, I don't have one of these because the disc I bought is actually NOS, and they didn't supply these with kits back in the day. So, in the day, this is the good thing about being old and been fixing cars for many, many years, I have this tool. It's just basically a wedge and a series of screw-on ends. You gotta find one that fits. And once you find your end that fits, this is just going to align, this little wedgy looking thing is going to align the actual disc. So I'm going to attempt to do that. The problem with this particular setup is it doesn't work as well as see, it's not as tight. We try to make it work as best we can, and it works to some extent. We're just gonna push real hard on there, but it's not as good as obviously something like this would be, where it's a lot firmer and a lot better alignment. But this works. We may have to wrestle with the transmission a little bit, but it'll do the job. This is how we did them in the old days. We didn't have fancy little plastic gadgets to go with everything. So now we're going to go ahead and put this clutch on here, a pressure plate. And here's the other snafu of it all, is this only goes on one way, because this is an externally balanced engine. So we got to turn this until it all lines up. So far, we're not there yet. We got, oh, wait a minute. Nope. We can try it here. Put a couple in, see what happens. There's going to be one that doesn't line up, of course. And we'll see which one that is. Well, there's two in there. 3, 4, 5. Well, I think we done got lucky. Looks like that lines up. So what we'll do is, before we tighten one up, we're going to make sure that we have this in there tight too, and that way we'll make sure everything goes nice and tight. And make sure we push in on this good and tight, and then just kind of zing in a couple of these. That's probably as good as it's going to get. So now we're just going to torque it. These have to be torqued to 44 pounds. So we're going to start with 20 pounds and then we're going to go to 40. Benefits to have been working on cars for many, many years, or basically the benefits of being old. is sometimes you got tools that just, I don't even know if they make that anymore. It's an old Calvan tool. I probably bought it 30, 35 years ago and never thought I'd use it again. You know, one of those things you'd probably sell at a swap meet, like, I'm never going to use this. So they give you a pilot shaft tool with every clutch set you buy nowadays. But fortunately for me, and I'm telling you, I probably haven't used that thing in 25 years, if I've ever used it. I can't remember, because I bought an assortment years ago of all the little plastic ones where it's supposed to have every single combination known to man back then. But guess what? Didn't have one for the old Gremlin. So I guess AMC got left out of that one, or at least this combination. So fortunately for me, I had that old Calvan. Maybe they still make it, I don't know. But the benefits to being old sometimes, you know, most of the time it's like getting old sucks. But in this particular case, it worked out. And we got her in there. Now, the moment of truth, we're going to go ahead and throw on the bell housing. And then put in the transmission and the cross member. And see if it all lines up. Let's keep our fingers crossed, shall we? We did the motor mounts, just for the FYI, because we mentioned this on the other one. The motor mounts did end up, if I hadn't slotted them, it would not have worked. The motor mounts did not go to the bottom, where I was kind of hoping they would go. They actually stayed way up by the top. Now, the reason for that is probably because on the V8, it had two studs, one high, one low, one, whatever, how you want to look, high, low, low, high. Whereas the six-cylinder had just one single one in the middle, kind of towards the upwards a little bit. And so on this one, on this engine, I end up using just the bottom stud, which is going to move the engine up a bit. So if I had probably the proper V8 mounts for this car, or the proper K-frame, I'm not sure if they use this K-frame or not. One of the things I used isn't correct, but it worked. I slotted them, and now it's way up at the top of those slots, and I centered it, and it looks pretty darn good. So we'll know better once we get all this. When I check that little shift rod, it does seem like the engine is sitting back a little bit more than I want it to. It seems like it's tilted back, but it probably is. Maybe once I put her back up into place, that little shift rod, that little torque shaft is going to be perfect. We'll find out. And assuming that the transmission bell housing goes back in the same spot, it should work out just fine. There's something else I was going to say. Oh, the little bushing that's broken, I was going to try to order one, a little plastic bushing, but the little round doohickey on the torque shaft itself is actually worn as well. So I think if I buy the correct plastic piece, it's just going to pop right through, just even though it's not broken. And it might be broken because it got so small. So what I plan on doing is I'm going to stop by at a friend of mine's place, and I'm going to borrow his lathe. And I've got a big old piece of bronze that I bought 35 years ago that I built when I was a kid. I built a Chevy too, and I put a Hemi Mopar transmission in behind the Chevrolet, so I made my own pilot shaft bushing because they just didn't make one for that swap. They make stuff for all kinds of swaps now, but so I'm going to take that same piece of bronze that I bought all those years ago, and I'm going to bring it to my buddy's place, and I'm going to borrow his lathe, and I'm going to go ahead and turn a little bushing just like this one, only made it out of bronze, and that way it shouldn't wear out ever again because it's oil impregnated bronze, which means it's forever self-lubricating. It's awesome, right? They don't allow cameras in there because it's a factory where they make stuff. So he's not going to allow me to bring my camera, so I won't be able to show you me making that, but I will show you the finished product before I put it in. Today, I think we're going to try to just get the transmission in with the cross member in, just make sure everything lines up, and then we'll probably conclude this day. But I'm pretty excited. Engine's in, clutch is in. Clutch is, a little sketchy because it's small disc and bigger flywheel, and it's a little sketchy. But I think we're going to be okay. I hope we're going to be okay. If we eat the disc in the first 5 minutes, well, we'll know it didn't work out. And I'm not sure. Maybe I'll have to cut my own, take the 10-inch disc and put these splines. I've never done that before, but somebody's got to do it, right? So maybe I'll end up pressing this piece out of here, and we'll find out. Hopefully this will work. I've got another disc. I got the original disc as well, which I could use if this one cooks. But I think we'll be all right if we don't hit her too hard, on the burnouts, But let's go ahead and keep going. It's an old trick of mine. I probably showed it to you before. I always leave the bolts in place. You know, anytime I take something apart, oh, this one's got a nut on it. We better move that off of there. I always leave the bolts in place so that I don't lose them. So if I can, this one's not cooperating. We need to get this nut off of here. There we go. Any more with nuts? Yep, over here. So, but take those out of there. We got one of these little ones down here for the inspection plate. So it just makes it a lot easier. You don't have to go hunting for stuff. And whoa, come on, don't fall out. And sometimes that will happen. I did move this once and accidentally dumped all the bolts out of it. So you do have to kind of be careful of that when you're trying to do it this way. But this is by far the best way to keep track of stuff. And let's go ahead and put her up and in there. I got all cattywampus in here. Well, I think those are caught. We're going to go ahead and get a ratchet and see if I can't zing a couple of them in there. I got the transmission up on the jack, and I'm going to have to kind of get in the way to just until we get her up in there. This transmission is not very heavy. I could probably just pick it up and put it in, but I'm just going to use the jack for my own sanity. Just makes it so that if it doesn't go in right away, you still have some strength left. She's round on the bottom, so I got to be careful not to let her go. I put the throwout bearing in there. I didn't tape that. I didn't video that. But, all right. So now you kind of want to. There we go. Well, I've got that in the clutch. Now it's just a matter of getting it lined up with that spline in there. There we go. I do believe, well, she looks pretty good. Yep, I'd say we're in. Yee-haw! Can I get a yee-haw out there? I think so. So now I just got to conjure up me some bolts and get them in there, and look, look, look. Can you believe it? It's in the middle. So everything so far is lined up. Drive shaft's going to be going down the middle of the car like it's supposed to. The only thing is, I'm looking up in here, and the center bolt on the bell housing doesn't exist on a V8. Weird. More bolts on a 6-cylinder. So we'll go ahead and get these. Get that out of the way. That's a line for the shifter, neutral safety, I'm guessing. But everything looks good. Let's get the bolts, get her buttoned up. We'll get this cross member in, and that's going to be my day for today. There's a bolt here in the shifter that's quite difficult to get to, and I got it started with my fingertips. Now I'm trying to get it cranked in here, and then there's another one over here that I've got to line up, but I'm gonna have to go topside and get that pair of vice grips out of the way. We're gonna go ahead and keep shuffling on this one. Oh, that pinched. No, you got to keep your fingers out from between the wrench and whatever it is you're wrenching on. So we got that one caught on there pretty good. We'll go ahead and get the other bolt to put in there. Now let's see if I can get this one in here. Uh-oh. Well, I got this one kind of slid forward. I don't think that's going to help me at all, though. There we go. Let's see if we can get the... You got to be a contortionist in this trade, you know? I wonder if we can... get this out of the way. Not really. A little bit. Can't really see what I'm doing. Okay, there we go. Oh, I think we may have gotten it. Oh, can't tell. Looks like it's in there. Hey, yeehaw. Can I get a yeehaw out there? There we go, she's going in. Cover me, I'm going in. So let's go ahead and put this back where it belongs. Come on, baby. Well, I gotta get this all uncattywampus. There we go. Oh, yeah, well, you know. Okay. So now, we'll get our wrench. This is probably tedious to watch. It's like diamonds, glimmer and punch. Shiny predator, with a golden gun. Space, blaze, go machine. Space, blaze, go. Engine's in, transmission's lined up, transmission cross members in there. Didn't put the drive shaft in yet, didn't put the starter in yet. We got a few more things to finish up before we can try to fire this up, including buying a battery. Little dirty. Got the radiator to put in. Got some stuff to do still. Take the vice grips off the shifter. I think I still got to tighten the shifter too. I don't remember if I tightened that back up, but we'll get to that. Anyway, that's pretty much going to be it for today. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Tired. Got to quit early. It's going to start pouring out here for too much longer. And I got a couple of cars outside that we just washed. So we don't really want to get them dirty just yet. I'm pretty excited. The hard part is done. Just hooking up some wiring and a drive shaft, and probably another day's work, I would think. But we should be firing this thing up real soon. I'm hoping that the next video we do on this car will be finishing up the small stuff and starting it. That hopefully will be next weekend's project, assuming nothing gets in the way. Like this weekend, I did have to repair my trailer, and so that kind of took a day that we could have been working on this. We'd have been done with this today had I not had to work on the trailer. But it's all on a day's work. You can't always play on the fun stuff. Sometimes there's things you just got to do. And the cool thing about it is with this channel, the stuff you got to do is sometimes good too. I'd like to keep going on the Gremlin and get this project out of the way, and we'll start on another one. But sometimes you just got to fix the stuff that needs fixing. Kind of bothers me that things, wear out. I'm wearing out. But anyway, enough talking. Nobody wants to hear me talk, right? Everybody just wants to see the project going on. So that's pretty much what I'm going to try to do. I tend to be long-winded, if you haven't noticed. So I'm going to try to cut that back a little bit, because I know when I'm watching videos, I'm fast-forwarding through all that chit-chat, unless it's real interesting. So thank you for watching. If you like the channel, if you like my other videos, including this one, or if you like this one and not the other, but either way, if you like it and you want to watch another one, subscribe. That way, every time I put one out, you'll be the first to know. And you can just bing, click right on that bad boy and get to watch it right away. I kind of do that, and I've subscribed to the ones I like, and beep, as soon as it comes up, a little bleeper comes up on my screen, says, so-and-so just put out another video. Woohoo! And trust me, I'm at this channel. It may not always be what you expect. You might get a chicken video, for crying out loud. Yeah, I know, I just did that. Every once in a while, something cool happens in the barnyard, and I've been trying to catch, my wife breeds ponies, and I'm trying to catch one of them having birth. I think that would be cool. So every once in a while, hey, horsepower is horsepower, right? Even if it's only 1 horsepower of pony power. I like pony cars. Anyway, enough of that. But you never know what you're going to see on this channel. If you like cars and an occasional comical video on some goofy animal thing, I do have a few people watching my channel because they like the animal videos the best. Who figures? Anyway, thank you for watching. Please subscribe. And as always, if you don't like my videos, just don't watch them.